Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Dane's Desk. Today's topic is Americans of African descent can make America great again. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about what I mean. So earlier this week, excuse me, earlier this week, I came across, I was scrolling through the digital streets. I came across a video. It appeared to be, it was a interview or a radio interview. It appeared to be like a radio host, and then there was a radio host, and then someone had called in to talk to him, to talk to her, I should say. It sounded like it was an American of European descent and an American of African descent. And so the the AA, they she was saying, like, asking us, the AE, like, where, because the AE was like, yeah, let's make America, AE being an American of European descent and the AA American of African descent. So the AE was like, yeah, the AA was asking the AE, like, yo, because the AE was like, yeah, we need to, I'm MAGA, we need to make, America great again. Like, and then so the AEA is like, well, when was America great? What are you talking about? And she's like, oh, when we had our freedoms. Basically, I think she specifically referred, like, the founding fathers. And then she was like, oh, well, George, whose freedom? Because George Washington owned slaves. And so they're going through this back and forth. And I'm just like, I mean, the facts, to what I understand to be, are accurate on her part, in that, Washington did own slaves, and at that point in time, um, that may have not been the greatest time of America. Now, again, by greatness, I don't mean perfection. I don't mean flawless. I don't mean, it has to be, just pristine in that regards. Like, greatness means adversity is a part of it. You can't achieve greatness without some level of adversity. Period, point blank. Like I said, the old adage, no pain, no gain. On the other side of, you got to suffer to get to the other side of glory or success. Suffer, then succeed. You know what I mean? Like, these things, these languages, these codes for our mind, these things, these networks of these have been a part of our network of conversations, since most likely the beginning of time. So there is some wisdom in adversity and struggle and suffering, and pain, going through it to get to the pleasure. Because again, yes, human beings are driven to prioritize maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain at all costs. But what the human being views as painful and views as pleasurable is just dependent upon the images that they have in their mind, so that they can reflect that in their reality. So again, the best example I've come across so far, just to explain this before we move forward, is think about working out. So the activity of exercise is typically viewed as a painful activity, yet people still do it. So Dane, how can you say that human beings are driven to prioritize maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain, but you're saying that a human being is willing to endure pain? And yes, they are, because of the pleasure that they have of themselves achieving upon going through this pain. So again, a person that exercising, they don't have the image of them exercising on their mind for their vision of themselves in the future. That ain't the image that they have of them working out or lifting weight or running. Like, no, they have, if it's let's just say someone who wants to lose weight, they don't have the image of going to the gym and lifting weights or having to show up. No, they have the image of themselves looking in the mirror at the body of their dream. You know what I mean? So that's the image of pleasure. That's the feeling of pleasure that they are trying to get to, or that they are trying to experience. So they're willing to endure the pain of exercising in order to get to the pleasure of having the body of their dreams, so that when they look in the mirror, that's what they see and that's what they're going to feel. That sense of pleasure. So that same concept is applicable to everything we do in our lives. Again, it just depends on the image that you have of it and how you're stacking things up in your mind. Because again, there are people who want to lose weight, just like this individual, but they can't do it because the image that they have of when it comes to weight loss is, damn, I'm gonna have to go find time to go to the gym, then I'm gonna have to go to the gym, then I'm gonna be sweating, then my muscles is gonna be hurting, my body's gonna be aching, and then it's gonna be hard for me to get out of bed the next morning. So like that's the image and conversation that they're having with themselves about getting in shape or losing weight. So it's like they're not even thinking about the body of their dreams, you know what I'm saying? So that's why they don't exercise, that's why they never lose the weight, and that's why they never able to experience the pleasure of seeing themselves in the body of their dreams. Because they ain't willing to they like I said, vision management was off. You feel me? So same thing in this case. Because again, I'm noticing a very big problem here when it comes to this whole MAGA discussion, and specifically when it comes to Americans of African descent. You know, we have allowed negative images to infiltrate, you know, our mind's eye to where all we can, you know, see is negativity um, about America. And again, I'll be the first to tell you that America has a very atrocious history when it comes to its relationships with Americans of African descent. Like, I'll be the first to tell you that. Like, yes, they have done those individuals, us, we, our people, they have done us wrong. They have marginalized us. They have subjugated us. They have done all these horrible things to us. You know, they've killed us. You know, like I said, one of as I was having this discussion, one of the things that was brought up, you know, again, the move bombing in Philadelphia. And I actually just saw an episode on a TV show recently about that. But again, like, yes, America has done some very terrible things to Americans as citizens of African descent. Like, yes, they have, and it is still going on till this day. A lot of it, yes, it is. So yeah, I know that, I see that again. And the example that, you know, we were specifically talking about was the Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or as most famously known or legendarily known as Black Wall Street, which was basically early 1900s up until 1921. May 31st to June 1st or June 2nd was when the actual Tulsa riots happened. The bombing or the rioting and looting and the destruction of Black Wall Street. And that was another, you know, horrible moment in America's history. Yes, it was. And that's what made me kind of like really start feeling a little irritated with this discussion, because albeit like, yes, those 2 days of American history were terrible for America and for Americans of African descent. Like, yes, it was. However, my question to Americans is, especially those of African descent, is why are we just going to skip over the 15 years of prosperity that the Greenwood district represented? Was that not greatness? Was America not great at that point in time, as specifically for Americans of African descent? Now, granted, again, I'm well aware that Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma was that was one city in one state in the 50 states in America. Like, yes, I'm aware of that. So, and I'm well aware that while they were handling business in Greenwood, it wasn't so bright and great for other Americans of African descent. Like, yes, I know. Yes, I understand that. However, going back to, again, vision management and now making America great again, that is a point in American history where Americans of African descent were symbols of greatness. We did it, and we have it. So we have the reference, we have the record, you know, we know it can be done. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Are we going to embrace our victor mindset the same way they did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and through the marginalization, the subjugation, the bigotry, the prejudice, the racism, through it all? You know, those groups of Americans of Africa, that community of Americans of African descent in the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma, were able to create what was eventually dubbed Black Wall Street. It was done. So it can be recreated. It can be done again. We just have to embrace the victor mindset, and which is going to allow us to have victor images of us doing that, as opposed to maintaining this victim mentality of, all these America has done all these bad things to Americans of African descent, you know, da 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 da. So like, there's no point of us even trying. It's just no point. We just need to be concerned about ourselves and just enjoy life while we can, because you know nothing. The poor white trash is gonna come and root riot and burn it all down no matter what we try to do. So just there's no point even doing it. Let's just, because again, you only live once, YOLO. So let's just have fun and live once, and you know just kick this can on down the curb, and just let the next generation figure it out. That seems to be the prevailing sentiment. You know what I mean? So again, we can't allow them to contaminate our mind with their images of what MAGA represents, making America great again. Because the concept of make America great, like we do need to be great, you know, as on a global position. I mean, the playing field, like yeah, we do need to be great, and you know, the American youth and every generation of youth is giving us an indicator of where that greatness is going to stand in the future. And as of right now, we can do some work. We have some areas of improvement, you know, for our American youth. Again, you know, close to 3/4 of eighth graders are below proficiency level when it comes to reading and math. So that means that we can do some work as America. You know, we can all do our part to make America great again. Again, we don't have to have their image of whatever they talking about of America being great. They can have their image. They got it. Like, but what is ours? You know what I'm saying? Like, specifically Americans of African descent. What is our vision of America being great? What does that look like? And then once you've articulated that, you've made it plain, what are you going to do to contribute to making that happen? Because that's another problem I'm noticing, is that in addition to being embracing the victim mindset, quitting on ourselves, you know, we're not even trying to come up with a better vision, or trying to create our own vision, you know, for the future when it comes to making America great again. So again, we can have our own image of what that great America looks like. And in my opinion, you know, as an American of African descent living in America, specifically one point in American history where quote unquote Americans of African descent were able to do great things on a community level, where we were able to have our own community in regards to it being self-sustaining, self-sufficient, without the need of outside help or aid, was the Greenwood District. So why can't we recreate the Greenwood District today in 2025 moving forward in communities where Americans of African descent primarily reside? Like, why can't we do that? I mean, it seems like we have been able to do a version of that in Atlanta, with what I've always heard to be Black Hollywood. But you know, what is stopping us from making America great as Africans? I mean, as Americans of African descent, like what is stopping us from making America great? You know, and from our perspective, from our vision, you know, of the future, like why can't we do that? And again, why can't we recreate the Greenwood District? Why can't there be a Greenwood District in every major metropolitan city in America at a bare minimum, where you have Americans of African descent holding it down? Like, why can't we have that? Or why can't we go and build our own Greenwoods? You know, again, let's go back to it real quick. Hold on. Spending power. So it says, whereas Americans of African descent have an estimated $1.6 trillion in spending power, but continue to lag behind all other groups in the United States as a whole in terms of financial wellness. Whereas there is a strong link between financial literacy and financial wellness among African Americans. So because we have no financial literacy, we don't have financial wellness. And for those of us who do have financial wellness, there is a level of financial literacy that's there, hopefully. But as we can see here, yeah, if they are saying that we control, so when I see that 1.6 trillion in spending power, quote unquote, I don't look at it as like part of our problem is we're looking at it as quote unquote spending power, because remember, language matters. So we need to redress it from spending power to economic power, or um, capital power, investment power. So that's what we have at our disposal within our own communities in America. I think there's roughly like, wow, maybe 40 to 45 million Americans of African descent as a whole in America, and collectively we all represent 1.6 trillion dollars in quote unquote investment power, economic power. So you really believe in a capitalistic economy if if without organization, that 1.6 trillion gets funneled from our communities and our households to other communities and other households, because we're just giving our money away in exchange for their goods and services that we believe give us a sense of fulfillment, but they don't. All right. So again, we got 1.6 trillion dollars of investment capital, capital power, investment power, capital power, economic power. We got 1.6 trillion dollars of it. And you mean to tell me we can't build Greenwood districts and at a bare minimum in the major metropolitan cities in which we reside? So Los Angeles, Atlanta, Dallas, Chicago, New York. You know what I mean? Like Tulsa. We gotta get back to Tulsa. You feel me? We gotta go back to where it all began. You know what I'm saying? But again, we got a lot of these smaller pocket markets. So we got the Raleigh, North Carolinas. You feel me? This Savannah, like we are represented around America, but again, we just not organized, and we don't have a image, and we don't have the self control to make these things happen. And that's the only thing that's holding us back at this point in time. So we need to have more positive images of ourselves winning, so that we can win. All right. So again, we got to let go of the victim mentality and embrace the victor's mentality, because why? We are still standing throughout all the marginalization, the subjugation, the bigotry, the racism, everything. We are still standing. We're still here. So that lets me know that we got the blood of champions inside of us, the blood of winners. We just disoriented as a group, and we got to just get refocused. Have more positive and productive images of ourselves winning in the future, developing our self control so we can stay disciplined and focused to make it happen. That's it. So solution, we rebrand MAGA and recreate Greenwood districts throughout America. So the same way, they come in to our communities and take our words and rebrand them for their own use or own personal use to tell their own stories and their own narratives, we can do the same. All right. That's why I'm saying MAGA, make America great again. Like, yes, let's take it away. So again, instead of wearing the red MAGA hat, we might wear the black one or the green one. My vote would be the green one, because that's the true color of America. That matters in America is green power. And again, we got 1.6 trillion dollars worth of green power, and American of African descent. In our community, we got it. So again, make America great again. Like we got it to make America great again, and greatness and how we see it. We got the power to make that happen. We're not using it to our advantage, you know what I'm saying? Because we still holding on to this victim mentality. All right. So we gotta let go of that. We gotta detox their images of MAGA and replace them with our own. And again, and then the biggest part of that, making that happen, that detoxification and redistribution is and cleaning up these negative images is education and early education. So again, we have Gen Beta coming up, so we got an opportunity to allow them to start without the contamination. But for all of us who do have it, again, we got education begins at home, and early and often is better. So again, we got to start often, we got to start early, and we got to just start making it happen. All right. So action steps. So how do we how does the rubber meet the road in this case? So again, we have to start listening, watching, and reading and tapping into conversations that are befitting of the image that we want to have for ourselves for the future. So again, create a future vision as a collective. So again, if as a 44 million, if we can get on the same page, 40 plus million of us, Americans of African descent in this country, if we can get on the same page in regards to having a singular vision of, again, recreating Greenwood districts in our communities today and moving forward into the future, if we can collectively, get behind that cause as a group, as 40 million, and then we begin to put money behind it in regards to we're doing our due diligence as individuals in our communities to rebrand and rebuild and build up these Greenwood districts in our communities. Then again, they did it in 15 years. We can't do it in 50. I think we can do it in less, but they did it in 15, starting from nothing, or most likely a little shack, because again, they didn't get no handout. They wasn't given no handout, and that's another thing. You know what I'm saying? We can get resources for this, but we already have 1.6 trillion in resources to make it happen. But again, it starts with us, having that vision, developing that self control. So again, vision being, creating a version of the Greenwood district in every major metropolitan area or city where, Americans of African descent reside. And having that, banded behind that, and then moving forward and making that our priority. And then we can reinforce this being our future and it continuing on this greatness by ensuring that we're bringing up the next generation of Americans of African descent to do the same and making sure they have the STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math, so they will be able to understand how the world works and operates so they can continue this greatness on into the future. All right. So to bring it back home, yeah, Americans of African descent can make America great again. And we don't only have to focus on their images of greatness. We can use our own images of greatness. And the same way they hijack our lingo, we can hijack their lingo and rebrand it to our benefit, the way they rebrand ours to their benefit. All right. So again, we have Americans of African descent have had a sense of greatness in America, and from my point of view, that was one of those moments. Was in the modern era, somewhat in the modern era too, was what we did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with the Greenwood district, which famously became legendarily known as Black Wall Street. All right. So say yes to the Greenwood districts in America right now. We can do it. All right. So on that note, I'm here to help. Like I said, I got the education plan for us to get started. I definitely got some business plan ideas, but again, I just know that we gonna have to collectively band together. Got to organize, like brother Minister X would say. We got to organize first. You know what I mean? We got to organize. We got to because that's our problem. We just get out organized. So we got to organize. Rally behind this common goal of creating these Greenwood districts and, in our cities and our communities and moving forward from there. All right. Let me know what I can do to help. Peace.